May 2nd will, of course, be the very interesting Fatal Fury City of the Wolves event, headlined by Ryan Garcia and Rolly Romero. The very interesting thing is the fact that Boots has now been elevated technically to a Super WBA champion, which now that leaves the regular WBA title for Ryan Garcia and Rolly Romero to fight over. Which is very interesting because if Rolly wins, then he would technically be a 3 division world champion, as I do believe he held the regular or interim WBA title at lightweight, the legitimate super title at super lightweight, and he would then hold the regular title at welterweight. So, yeah, we might be living in a universe where Rolly Romero is a 3 division champion. But besides that, there's also some very good fights on the undercard, that being Devin Haney coming off of his no contest bout between Ryan Garcia, also a year layoff, taking on Jose Ramirez, the former unified 140-pound champion. Now, of course, many people believe that Jose Ramirez is a little bit past his prime, but it is a very interesting thing as they will technically be moving up to around 143 pounds. People believe it would benefit both fighters, so maybe they'll look a little less washed than they probably should be. But besides that, the opener is Teofimo Lopez defending his WBO Super Lightweight Championship against Arnold Barbosa, who holds the interim title. Very good fights. Many people believe that the Barbosa-Lopez fight is the essential closest fight on the card, and it makes sense. So let's talk about it. Arnold Barbosa Jr. is 32-0, 11 wins by way of knockout. That's right, not a lot of knockouts, but he does have, as they would say, some pop. Now, of course, some of his best wins are against Jack Catterall in his last fight, Jose Ramirez, and Danielito Zorrilla. Very good fight. Now, of course, the Catterall fight kind of went normal, where Catterall was winning until Barbosa found really, I guess you say, his rhythm and started winning later rounds, winning him the fight. Now, of course, he is facing arguably one of the best fighters on the card, that being Teofimo Lopez, 21-1, 13 wins by way of knockout, the former unified lightweight champion and the now lineal and WBO super lightweight world champion. Now, of course, very interesting because politics. A lot of people believe Teofimo Lopez should have been the first male 2 division undisputed champion, as politics kind of stopped him from becoming undisputed when he fought Lomachenko, and he was set to fight Josh Taylor for the undisputed titles, and then he vacated all of them. So he only fought for one. So, people are saying, oh, it doesn't matter. He lost to Kambosos or whatever. But besides that, yeah, he lost to Kambosos. Split decision. Both were dropped. Very interesting fight. But of course, his best wins are against Masayoshi Nakatani, Richard Comey, Vasily Lomachenko, his best win, Josh Taylor, and Jermaine Ortiz. Now, of course, there's another one he probably should have a second loss, that being against Sandor Martin. Sandor Martin, one of the better fighters at 140. So, it makes sense why he struggled. I mean, not at the time. People believed, he was washed or something. I don't know. But besides that, Teofimo Lopez is known to be a very interesting fighter, to say the least. His antics, obviously, outside the ring, make people kind of hate him. He's the whole, oh, I'm the villain of the story type of fighter. But also in the ring, he's a very interesting fighter. Either he is arguably the best fighter to ever enter the squared circle, or one of the dumbest. So, yeah, he could go from, oh, I could deflect your shot with the elbow and hit you with some random shot that probably I should not be able to hit you with, to, oh, I can't cut off the ring. His last fight was against Steve Claggett. He looked average in that fight. He couldn't knock him out. Claggett had very good pressure, couldn't really give Teofimo Lopez the essential range he needed to really be great, which is very good for him because Arnold Barbosa is not really a pressure fighter like Claggett. He is somewhat lighter on his feet, so obviously, matter of fact, both of them are somewhat very bad against people who move. Obviously, Teofimo Lopez, people believe he should have lost to Jermaine Ortiz. He definitely should have lost to Sandor Martin. And Arnold Barbosa should have lost to Sean McComb. So obviously, these people are struggle with the lighter on their feet fighter, obviously movers. Luckily, they're not fighting them, so obviously that's good. But the way it's going to go, it's simple. It's kind of just flip a coin, literally. Just flip a coin, and you would probably be right. Teofimo Lopez, this type of fighter against Arnold Barbosa, he wouldn't really he wouldn't really shine as well as he needs to. Of course, Barbosa fights long or fights tall. He's a rangy fighter. He's a very tricky fighter as well. And Lopez, he hasn't really shined against them. The ones he shined against are more the flatter foot guys like Comey, Campa, even Taylor, because he was drained at that point. And of course, you may be saying, but didn't he beat Lomachenko? Fair enough. But Lomachenko uses his footwork offensively, if it makes any sense, more than defensively. But besides that, enough dilly-dallying. Who's going to win? It's a 50-50 fight. Literally, it's a 50-50 fight. Very close. But I'm going to pick Arnold Barbosa, mostly because I do believe he can find his rhythm before Lopez does, because Lopez hasn't really fought, or hasn't fought these type of fighters. Very, he didn't beat them convincingly enough for me to be like, yep, he's definitely going to win against Barbosa. Barbosa, very great resume at 140, very tricky fighter, likes to mix up his shots. He definitely can adapt throughout the fight, so it's not like either one of them is going to really get away with it. Someone's going to win, and the other one's going to adapt, and the other one's going to adapt to his adapting, and it's just going to be a very fun fight. Besides that, give me Arnold Barbosa by split decision. I think it's going to be a very close fight. Teofimo Lopez is one of the most intelligent fighters out there, yet also looks like he can't read anything. I don't know. Like I said, he could go from getting touched up a bunch of times by Claggett to being able to dominate Josh Taylor. It just depends on the opponent. The better the opponent, the better Teofimo we get. Arnold Barbosa is kind of there. So you're probably like, so Arnold Barbosa should unlock the secret potential of Teofimo Lopez. Probably, but I don't think so. I think Barbosa wins enough early rounds, gets into his groove before Lopez, and gets a split decision victory. Now, of course, the co-main event, Devin the Dream Haney versus Jose Ramirez. Now, of course, Jose Ramirez is 29-2, 18 wins by way of knockout. Of course, 2 of his losses come by Josh Taylor for the undisputed titles and Arnold Barbosa Jr. during the Latino Night event in Riyadh. Now, of course, he did not look... he looked all right against Barbosa. I don't know. He didn't look the best against Barbosa, right? And then people are saying he's washed. And to be honest, probably. He didn't look the best against Barthélemy either. He got hurt a lot against Barthélemy. Couldn't get out of the straight left. Comey, he stopped him, but he couldn't. I don't know. He was struggling a little bit there too. But besides that, his best wins are against Jose Zepeda, Victor Postal, Maurice Hooker, and Antonio Orozco. So obviously some very good names on his resume, of course being the former unified champion. He unified it with Hooker, I believe. But besides that, he takes on the former undisputed lightweight world champion and the former WBC super lightweight world champion, Devin Haney. 31-0, 15 wins by way of knockout. Of course, he is coming off of the no contest against Ryan Garcia, where he lost the decision, but it was overturned due to Ostarine being found in Ryan Garcia's bloodstream. But of course, you could poke a lot of holes in his undisputed run. He became undisputed. First of all, he got his first title by email, obviously. That's the whole reason why Teofimo never became undisputed when he fought Lomachenko, because they took Lomachenko's WBC belt. So he was upgraded, obviously, and then he beat George Kambosos Jr. for undisputed. No offense to George Kambosos Jr. He gets people's butts in the seats. He gets sell. He's a good trash talker, like a lot of people like to say. He has some skill. Anyone in the top 10 probably would have became a unified champion if he fought Kambosos before anyone else. And not only that, he beat Kambosos for the undisputed titles. He beat Lomachenko in a controversial decision where many people, including myself, believe Lomachenko should have got the nod. So not only did he win undisputed in the weirdest way possible, he also, most people believe his defense isn't even legitimate. But besides that, he's still an elite fighter, very quick, great combinations. Defensively, struggles against speed. That's the thing. He struggles against speed. He struggled against Ryan Garcia. He didn't struggle too much, but he got hurt against Linares, obviously both known for their speed. But besides that, Devin Haney's best wins come by Regis Prograis, Jojo Diaz, Linares, Gamboa, and Abdulaliv. Or this guy. Can't pronounce his name, but he's fighting for the interim IBF title against Morataya. So obviously his wins are aging kind of gracefully. A little bit. Besides that, Jose Ramirez obviously is a pressure fighter, likes to break people down to the body. Overall, it's going to be a very interesting matchup because people believe that Devin Haney, after the beating he took against Ryan Garcia, will most likely not return the same as before. And definitely being a year off will actually not, take away a lot. Yeah, who cares? He took a bad beating, let's admit that. But a year, that's more than enough to, heal, mentally and physically. So although he probably would look not as good as he did before, I don't think it's going to be that far off. I think he spent enough time out of the ring to rebuild himself. But besides that, Jose Ramirez, he's a lot slower. He's definitely hittable. People are saying that Jose Ramirez is going to win because he has power. He's a pressure fighter, and he's coming up in weight. So obviously, he's no longer drained at 140. But the simple matter is, if Devin Haney keeps his speed and his footwork, it's going to be a shutout win for Devin Haney. Everyone's like, he's going to knock him out. He's not knocking out anything. He can't even knock out anyone, which is weird, though, because he knocked out Antonio Moran, who's only been knocked out twice, and that was against Haney and his latest loss against Cruz. So obviously, he has some pop, but he has to, wind up, supercharge it, use 3 bars of energy for his super attack to knock someone out. But besides that, Devin Haney by shutout. Very easy, nothing controversial. But the main event, arguably one of the most explosive fights on not only the card, but the weekend. Ryan Garcia versus Rolly Romero for the WBA regular title. Now, of course, weirdly enough, Rolly Romero is a champion. Ryan Garcia is not, which is a very interesting thing to say. And like I said, since technically, because people are saying if Ryan Garcia beats Rolly, then he would be a legitimate champion. Because I don't know how the WBA works. I'm gonna be real, I don't know how it works. Because you have the super champion, obviously the one that you need for the undisputed. But then you have the regular ones that also have mandatories themselves. I mean, Rolly was talking about how he was Gervonta Tank Davis's mandatory. But Tank didn't have the full super belt at lightweight until obviously Devin Haney vacated. And that was after their fight. And the same thing with Berlanga. He beat, I do believe, McCrory for the WBA mandatory spot. And people were making jokes like, he actually got the mandatory for David Morrell's WBA title. So I don't know how it works. But besides that, Rolly Romero has a chance to become a 3-division world champion. Anyways, Rolly Romero is 16-2, 13 wins by way of knockout, and 2 losses by way of knockout. Of course, his 2 losses come by Tank and Isaac Pitbull Cruz. Now, of course, Rolly Romero became a champion, beating Ismael Barbosa for the vacant title because Alberto Puello got caught being dirty. And he won very controversially. So, yeah, very interesting. Matter of fact, he was losing on all the scorecards. So, yeah, kind of saved him there. But besides that, he lost to Isaac Cruz, losing the belt in his first defense, which, to be honest, can't blame him. Isaac Cruz also lost in his first defense, and Ryo also lost in his first defense. So, to be honest, I don't think I'm really going to be betting on Antoine Russell. So, just saying. But besides that, his comeback fight was against Emmanuel Himes, where he beat him by unanimous decision, shutout win, obviously. People like to say, blah, 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 blah. Because Himes was knocked out by Abdullah Mason in his next fight. The thing is, you could say that Himes, due to him going up in weight, reinforced his chin. Which, to be fair, probably is the reason. But besides that, obviously, Romero's best wins are Barroso, Himes, Yigit, Jackson Martinez, and overall, you know what? For some dude with I do believe he had little amateur experience, and even less than 20 fights to become a champion, that's an achievement. I mean, even with good promotion, it's still an achievement. Anyways, he's taking on Ryan Garcia, King Rye. 24-1, 20 wins by way of knockout. Of course, he himself obviously is coming off his no contest decision against Devin Haney. We already talked about it. But besides that, his one loss was his Gervonta Tank Davis fight. Of course, he was drained in that fight. Obviously, lower weight class and rehydration clause. So obviously, not the best, right? But besides that, Ryan Garcia's best win is Oscar Duarte, Javier Fortuna, Luke Campbell, some other people, right? Obviously, Devin Haney probably would have been on there, but of course he popped for Osterine. But besides that, one thing about Ryan Garcia is that he's hittable. He's hittable. He got hit with a good shot against Devin Haney. He got hit, obviously, with Luke Campbell getting dropped. And overall, he has leaky defense, as many people would say. Even with his Victorville shell, he gets caught quite a bit. Now, of course, That's why people are saying, oh, that's right, Rolly Romero's gonna beat this guy because he's a very explosive fighter and he can catch Ryan Garcia coming in or something like that. He can catch him with a very strong shot. It's fair to assume that, but Rolly also leaves himself open himself. Weirdly enough, both of them started trying to be more defensive. You know, Rolly tried to be more defensive against Himes. Obviously, Ryan Garcia had been trying to do. I don't even know what type of shell he's trying to do, but he tried it. But the way it's gonna go is simple. If Ryan Garcia comes in fully in the fight, training for it, I guess you could say being ripped or whatever, I think that speed is just gonna be too quick for Rolly Romero. But the thing is, when they mean anyone has a puncher's chance, they really mean it for someone like Rolly. He's explosive, he's strong, he's violent, as some people might say. He has a chance. But that's it. That's technically all he has. Ryan Garcia is the better boxer. They both have an insane amount of power. And yeah, give me Ryan Garcia stopping Rolly Romero in the 7th round, ending a very good card. But besides that, give me Arnold Barbosa by split decision. Give me Devin Haney by a shutout decision win. And Ryan Garcia knocking out Rolly Romero in the 7th round. But anyways, who do you think will win these fights? Leave it down in the comments below. Very interesting matchups, very close matchups for some of them. But besides that, hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you on the next one.